Mr. Chairman of the AFCC, our books are clean. I must say that we do not appreciate your good works. We had, in the course of cleaning up, you've been very helpful to us, Chairman, that this man, Rajab Razak, is focused in delivering on our financials and also being a very good goalkeeper of our treasury. You do not only, please remain standing if you don't mind. Not only that, you actualize our vision in syndicating financing for the JV and NPDC assets. You led the team. They raised in excess of $10 billion of financing despite the international lending market. Of course, promoted our effort of transparency and accountability as enunciated by regularly and on a monthly basis, consistently publishing the NNPC operations and financial reports. Somebody asked me, why are you removing your address in public? You show it, some units are making consistent losses. I said, that's the fact. Why should I hide it? It's their cooperation. It's cooperation of everybody in this country. Every citizen should know what we have, should know what we are doing. And our efforts to turn them around. It's only when you know your problem that you can possibly solve it. And we do not shy away from taking good criticisms. The ones we hate is where you go to the media, and in fact, you don't even know what you are saying. It appears majority of Nigerians are oil men. Everybody knows what we are doing. And everyone knows how to eat better than us. I get a solace from the saying that you know best how to do something that you are not the one doing it. In other words, the less you know of the job, you think it's easy. So, let's just say, Razak, you know your job, you did it well, stand shoulder high. I thank you for contributing and giving us thanks. You may sit down. I'm sorry, I think, I hope if I'm boring you, bear with me. It's my last day. Let me enjoy it. Dr. Babatunde, every house has one, eh? We have this song in Kano. Could you please stand up? That says, Ko ni gida akwai Abba. Babatunde is Abba, isn't it? Dr. Babatunde Victor Adeniran is my Chief Operation Officer Ventures. Under you, you had the difficult task of reviewing the various businesses we have and streamlining them. You incubated the shipping entities, NADAS and ICOMA, and developed the revival path. You also promoted and developed new models, business models for the NNPC Medical Services Limited, the NNPC Properties Limited, the NNPC Leadership Academy, to make them profit centers, and created the NNPC Health Management Organization to not only retain value, but also create value by taking on outside patients as soon as the license is given to us by the regulator, NHIS. You promoted and championed the establishment of the renewable energy schemes, in particular the ethanol production from sugar and cassava, as well as diesel, biodiesel from palm oil, and got state governments to be interested and even signed MOUs to that effect. Doctor, you reinvigorated the research and development aspects of our business and made them to go commercial and get jobs outside NNPC, including OPEC, which we have done. Dr. Denron or Abba. Every house has one. I thank you so much. My CEO, Gas and Power, Engineer Saidu Ali Mohammed, fellow Nigerian Society of Engineers and also chemical engineers, is supposed to join us via teleconference in the London office. I believe he's there. If the camera switch, they can please switch to the London office if he's there so that you can focus on him. Engineer Saidu restored, increased by 3/4, and stabilized the gas supply to the domestic market for power generation, industry, and other users, where domestic gas supply moved from a paltry 500 million standard cubic feet per day to over 1.7 billion standard cubic feet per day. And as I'm talking, we have over 300 million standard cubic feet per day of gas that the power sector is not able to take. We worked assiduously for the development of the concept and approval of the Nigeria LNG Phase 7, the next quantum law, whose FID is imminent before the end of this year. We promoted the completion of the critical pipeline structure, like the looping of the ELP, the OB3 interconnection. We got very difficult project of the ground, the Jakarta, Abuja, Kaduna, Kano pipeline, which due to government's paucity of funds, we introduced the crafty, innovative contractual financing whereby the contractors will bring the funds, will lay the pipeline, will operate it, collect tariff, pay off the investment, and of course make some good money out of it too. They religiously implemented the gas master plan that will ensure gas penetration across the whole of the country commercially. You ensure the creation of Nigerian Gas Marketing Company, fully NNPC owned 100%, handle commercial aspects of the gas business, and the Nigerian Gas Processing Company that will be also 100% owned by the NNPC and be able to operate any gas plant and make money for NNPC, which gives a business focus and delineation for the Nigerian Gas Company that we serve an agency role for government that owns the pipelines. This gives us more commercial focus and ensure timely execution of projects and bring in the private sector to play. We thank you, Engineer Sidu, for participating with us. My CEO, Corporate Ventures, Malam Isa Mohammed Inwa, who had statutorily retired on the 28th of July, earlier than this date, having been my senior for 9 days. I always tell him that he can't brag about it. It's just 9 days between us. And he always says he's the boss. So he's senior to me. I say, okay, I'll take it. He had to be away on personal engagement, which he had pre-planned because he knew his retirement and booked accommodations, hotels, and all that. And of course, our families that have made a lot of sacrifice are aware he had booked this and they went to go for this holiday. So I excused him when he said that he will not be available today. But he's with us in spirit. CS championed the Security Council engagement that brought sanity in enhancing oil production. So let's sat in the meetings throughout to chair it on my behalf. But very importantly, he diligently ensures staff welfare by ensuring that the staff get their entitlements without asking. And we had a display of the 12 business focus areas as a clock. All the 12 of them went around the clock. On the listing, you see staff welfare as last. But when we put it on the clock, it's on the 12 o'clock zone. So with the same spirit of saying that it's the top of our priority, the welfare of staff, he actually practicalized that. He successfully conducted a fully in-house management promotion exercise without the use of external consultants. He managed, up to the point of his exit, the current recruitment exercise that's extremely transparent and believe the new team will conclude it as the oral interviews will be done with this week. He ensured industrial harmony through proactive engagement of the two in-house unions, the Pengasin, you made them the trade unions of the 21st century ahead of their peers with focus on the business goals first. The unions and staff appreciated that the union has to be there, the business has to be there and productive in order to meet all their obligations. We deployed IT applications with extremely good services, both internet and SAP and others, and the talent management framework for the productivity and service delivery. I cannot thank you enough. This facility, the edifice, NNPC Towers, when we came, we had incidences. Where even on 2 occasions, our lift cars went on free fall. They are in serious state of disrepair. Things were dilapidated. Toilets were in shambles. Not a conducive working environment. Chillers, a lot of time fail. And if I put it in my granddaughter's language, Baba, we are being cooked today. When the heat of Abuja hits, and I'm insisting as somebody from the desert, don't put on the AC. The little granddaughter will come to me and say, Baba, Baki, are really cooking us. And I said, okay, I'm sorry. I stand up and put on the AC. I thank you that we have brand new chillers installed. Our power supply had been epileptic, so double jeopardy. No power from the mains. Our own in-house generators was not working. Chillers, even if they were there, they wouldn't be running. And unfortunately, our building was designed in the 90s with the future in mind. We don't have windows even to open. So I cannot thank the corporate services enough. My CEO upstream, Malam Belgarabiu, I haven't seen him this morning, but he's not in spirit. He went to marry out his daughter. I think he hasn't finished discharging the visitors yet. It's normal in our palace. The visitors, when you marry out your daughter, or sometimes even the son, but I think the daughter most especially, they give you all sorts of gifts. But the gifts are not great gifts. I cannot, because CFC's chairman was around me, so I don't want to say that. I think when they are about departing, they want double or triple back of what they brought. So I'm certain he's there settling his bills. Under your watch, Malam Bello Baburabiu, you restored, increased, and sustained crude oil and gas production from the paltry 1.2 million barrels per day that we made to over 2 million barrels average 2018. And as of Friday morning, crude oil and condensate production was recorded at over 2.3 million barrels per day. Overall gas production to the nation was boosted to over 8.5 million standard cubic feet per day. You reduce the contracting cycle from the 24 to 36 months to about 9 months. This is no mean feat. Of course, we set very high targets. Our target was 6 months. But coming from 36 months, 9 months, in 3 years, I think it's a feat that even for me, I don't know how we did it. We revitalized and improved and sustained the NPDC equity production from factory 22,000 barrels per day in 2016 to over 65,000 barrels per day. In the same vein, our overall production from NPDC moved from 65,000 barrels per day to over 300,000 barrels per day. Actively renegotiated the cash call arrears repayment and exit, led the PSC disputes resolution and PSC terms resolution. We've signed the HOS disputes resolution for 118, and the disputes resolution agreement to exit the protracted issues that have contingent liability to the Federation of almost over $10 billion. To focus on supporting the various financing syndications and successfully supported the CFO in raising over $10 billion in this inclement environment. On my behalf, we structured the transition from JV to IJVs and set up the asset management structures in NPDC and NNPC JVs. Malam Bello Rabi Double L, we thank you for your efforts in delivering the third business focus areas. May I at this junction kindly request Engineer Anibo Ohile Raga to please stand up. We had hunted you as a finance man when you came to the system because of your dual capacity. One, you were handling the financing activities, Mobile Producing Unlimited, and when we were raising some of the funding in that joint venture for the satellite fields that played a major role. We brought you in to sanitize our treasury. But we're also aware of your basic degree being a chemical engineer. So at the appropriate time, we moved you as the Chief Operating Officer, Refining and Petrochemicals. For a purpose, we have a project of rehabilitation and rejuvenating the refineries. We had no money. This is an engineer that has been participating actively in raising financing. We think is basic training and foreign practice to see to the fruition of our vision of revitalizing these refineries fairly quickly. And of course, we work tirelessly on securing third-party financing for the rehabilitation of the 4 refineries. And that has culminated in the commencement of the comprehensive inspection of the Pt.4 refinery company towards the actualization of our lofty ideal of refinery revamps and rejuvenation, which, as you saw in the presentation, is an earnest, a serious champion that a bankable study is a must to attract external financing on purely financial basis. Convinced us and have started. In a few months, it's done. And I believe with what we have done, the money will start flowing. And the worst case, by January 1st, 2020, the full revamp of the Pt.4 refinery will commence. Thereafter, the other 2 refineries at Warri and Kaduna will go the same path. This being a pilot, the others should come in succession. We completed the pre-feasibility studies for the establishment of new refineries and further fine-tuned that with a detailed study by ANI and NAOC and their partners, Wando, to see to the actualization of 150,000 barrels greenfield refinery in Bayelsa State. All we are waiting is for ANI and Wando to give us a date, and they want us to actualize that in the groundbreaking by Mr. President. It is under your watch that WRPC was able to bring back all its 5 process streams running at the same time in 2018, as well as getting the other refineries running. We had, including the PP plant and the carbon black, were all producing late last year. This had not been on for several years. I congratulate you. Thank you, Engineer. You may sit down. Well, fuel scarcity is always an issue. We cannot but kindly request Engineer Henry Keobi my fellow, I may say fellow because he's a fellow of the Nigerian Institution of Mechanical Engineers, which is my primary constituency even within the engineering profession as a fellow mechanical engineer, before being, of course, fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, and the ultimate fellow of the Academy of Engineering. He came. People say it's Dr. Barrow, and somebody says I should be there forever. If he's not there, I don't want to be there forever. But I must say, top in your contribution is ensuring the seamless and queue-free, steady flow of fuel across this great country throughout the year. And ensuring that this heavy task that has been put on us and the corporation NNPC as the supplier of last resort, no excuse about it. A government corporation, whatever it takes, we must supply fuel to this country, every nook and corner, despite, of course, the various leakages that take place, because those are beyond our control. We are not the agencies that have to control the borders. But despite that, we are able to anticipate the leakage and say that, well, what can we do? It's going on. We can only appeal to the agencies to say that they should help us police and ensure that the borders do not allow these leakages, but plan and ensure that there is always steady flow of products. People see that of petrol as a major issue. But I bet you when we came on board, kerosene was gold. Diesel was a nightmare for NATO and other transporters. Nobody talks about them now. Unfortunately, of course, unfortunately for the Nigerian, the middlemen that used to make brisk money out of getting heavily subsidized kerosene out of our depots and fleece the common man have fizzled out of business. The Nigerian now gets kerosene as he wishes, at good price. He also gets diesel, whatever quantity he needed. Today, as I'm talking, the report I saw on Friday is that diesel, we have over 50 days sufficiency on the ground. People are not coming to pick it. But because it's not petrol, nobody bothers about that sufficiency. Taken for granted. That's how it should be. The same thing with kerosene. Both domestic as well as aviation. While crisis, nobody knew when the festive seasons come. They are more concerned about payments. But not too long ago, if our memories could recall, it's been a nightmare to go to the airport to travel around a little period. I know the airlines also cash on it and say that there is no aviation fuel for their own operational reasons. But we've had those problems. As speak to you now, we have over 60 days sufficiency in aviation turbine fuel. So when we had hunted you from Mobil Oil, now maybe that's part of the demise that they got sold as 11 PLC, they call them, is it now? We took the strong man there. But the nation needed you. And I thank God they delivered the fuel supply. I stand accused that engineers should not be going into business. But that had already been dismissed in my mind by my mentor, who is one of the best petroleum economists and strategists, that engineers have every right to be in business. Those that have the flair and develop themselves. You revamp the business models for the NNPC downstream entities, which saw the trifurcation of the octopus called Pipelines and Products Marketing Company, to create clear line of sight for the emergence of the Nigeria Pipeline and Storage Company, NPC, that will be concentrating on pipelines and depots, maintenance and operations, and serve some agency role for the government. Creation of the Petroleum Products Marketing Company, that is going to be 100%, that is 100% NNPC, looking at the commercials and make positive revenues, as well as the Marine Logistics Limited, that will be looking at coastal transportation of petroleum products and also make money. We also midwifed an LPG company, as well as developed the blueprint for a bunkering entity. Sorry, bunkering is not the one that they know. And this one is proper purchasing of products and selling them to ships. They call their fuel bunkers, unfortunately. But it's an area that you identified as where we can make money, and the economists show it. We expanded the footprint and market share of the NNPC retail. They said that today, the NNPC retail controls 14% of the distribution of fuels in this country. And I've charged them to go to 30% by end of 2020. You manage the delicate area of the central bank forex intervention scheme for the private marketers' imports of petroleum products. Quite delicate, because it's an area that could easily be abused. I'm not saying my private marketers here that you abuse it, but I said that it's an area that you want to make quick money. And if our eyes is a little bit of the cookie jar, you don't mind dipping your hand. But this man is the gatekeeper, and I think he kept it real good. You successfully managed the oil marketing companies at time of crisis. At time of crisis, and the downstream trade unions, by getting them to focus on the health of the economy overall and above their individual interests. This is not mean feared. I know when you call me at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., sometimes when I'm in the bath. So we have a crisis. PTD wants to go on strike. It's not sleep, just talking to our good friend, Chief Solomon. Valedictory is cooperating with us, but his members are hell-bound on taking a dive tomorrow morning. But he said he'll handle it. So if you hear that Apapa is not loading, Calabar is in disarray, Enugu is barricaded, understand that the union and us are in Congress. It will not affect national supply. They will do their show. It will be wet, starting 6 p.m. This is the kind of challenge you face. I really thank your family for the sacrifice they did to us. I know what it is. I know what I went through. But I know you being the first man at the gate, and your able lieutenants, and the cooperation I got from the downstream unions, PTD, NATO, even Moman and Dapman. Dapman is one that I should knock their heads. Because sometimes they go off a little bit, not too much to their willing, but because of what they face, have a lot of debt, government has not paid, they have to sack workers, all sorts of things. So I understand your behavior, Dapman. But be that as me, this gentleman, an engineer, fellow, has been very instrumental to see that you appreciate what your actions could have been on our dear country. I'd like to thank you for being there. At this juncture, I'd like to kindly request all the outgoing CEOs and the Chief Financial Officer to please stand up for appreciation, those that are present. Thank you so very much. As the saying goes, before you are a leader, success is all about growing yourself. When you become a leader, success It's all about going others. I don't know how many of us have heard the story of the American Rocky Mountain eagle. There is an eagle in the American Rocky Mountains. Unlike other birds that have very short life, some less than a year or two, God has so blessed this eagle that it can live for 70 years. However, it has a point of inflection. As it grows and hunts and eats, the American rock eagle, by the time it approaches 40 years of age, his beak has become so blunt and finds it very difficult to feed. So the obvious thing that happens is that if it doesn't find a way of renewing its beak, it will simply die because it will not have food to eat. So at the age of 40, the eagle finds a way of getting a big rock that will fall on its own beak, so that beak could break, and once again, it could hunt for another 30 years. NNPC, Sir Chief Marinho, 1977, July 1st. That's when he became the managing director, as it's called then, GMD called now. It's a long time for NNPC. It's gone through all sorts of things. It's almost becoming the American eagle. So obviously, that's the story of the jetliner, the jet fighter and the Airbus liner comes to fruition. However, we have rejuvenated the corporation, put it back into track, stabilized it in the industry, and by extension, stabilized the overall Nigerian petroleum industry. Today, I have the comfort of knowing that from today on, we are leaving NNPC in better hands. I say without exaggeration, Malam Mele Kolokiari, stand up. I promise you, I'm going to truncate a lot of my speech so that I don't bore you. Please remain standing. Malam Double L, I understand from our top management meeting, as you go up towards the desert, you increase the L's in the Malam. Because Malam Isa Muhammad from Kano, he says his own Malam is single L. And Malam Bello Babura Rabiu says his own is double L. And when I was inquiring for the GMD designate, you want to be called Malam. How many L's do you have? He said double. I said, okay. So the Malams in Niger must have triple L. Malam Mele Kolokiari and his team are the most capable and caring leaders that will take NNPC to greater heights. By now, Mr. Kiari, the new GMD, who has managed the COMD and the DSDP scheme that enables us to manage the petroleum product supply, of which without intervention, it would have been very difficult for NNPC and the nation. He has been in the upstream business, and of course, as you've heard, the current country representative in OPEC. As I said earlier, I quoted that when you become a leader, success is about growing others. 1 year ago, I had to plan my exit. During that time, I had to scout diligently possible successors. That meant you don't have a legacy if you don't have the right successor. All that I enumerated, what we did with my team, could have gone in flames in 1 day. It's my responsibility as the leader of this great corporation to identify, coach, mentor my replicas, not one. He was not the only one that I was mentoring. I had others. I didn't tell them I'm mentoring them. But I was mentoring them. I knew my goal. I knew each of them that would have come here, those that I presented, Mr. President, would have done well. But obviously, when Mr. President looked at their CVs, discussed with me, come back after a week, make up my mind. I was there a week later. He gave me my name back. I've been zeroed in my life. Male local. You are the new beak of this eagle. You have to give it the life and the energy and the team for it to fly Not for 30 years. This cooperation must fly forever. I thank you, GMD. Please sit down. Mr. President did not stop there. His Excellency, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, visionary leader, focused, chairman of the NNPC board, first very board, who worked very harmoniously with our founding MD, GMD, Chief Mario. When I presented him a picture, when he adorned me on with this cap, this very hall, he said, GMD, bring back our dream. The dream that I had and Chief Marine had. So he said, now that I've given you approval of successor, you can't leave him alone. I'm certain from your nominations of who could have been, you know each and every one in the top management of the NNPC. And you know the staff much more than Gary. So go and propose various scenarios of his management team for him. And let me look at it. Bring it back by tomorrow morning. That I did. He took his time to go through various scenarios and he selected one which he told me to announce. And when he was doing that, he said, get them just as we are going to do with Gary, the respective CEOs to be sitting with them for this period of 2 weeks so that we have a seamless transition in line with my vision of operation. Mr. Farouk Garba Said, I saw you with a white Babariga somewhere. Kindly stand up wherever you are. One of the Kupuloko boys.